Well, good morning. Another Saturday, another workshop. So today we have our integrated diabetes protocol. So I want to explain a couple of things before we get into that. So we're going to walk through some documents. Again, my name is Charles Sine. I'm the CEO of Anti-Fragility Health Clinic. And this is part of our workshop series. And today we are dealing with integrated diabetes protocol. So we call it protocol because it is aimed. Hi, Victor.
Hello.
Come in, guys. So Victor likes that back chair. Good to see you, my friend. Good to see you. Sit down. So today we are talking about the integrated protocol for diabetes. So I want to just make sure, give them the handouts. I want to make sure that for people who go to our website, that they understand what our protocols are and what our bundles are. So we have protocols for people who have been diagnosed with a specific disease. If you've been diagnosed, where's Yara? So if you've been diagnosed with a particular disease, we have a lot of protocols. We build protocols for those diseases because our strategies for people who've been diagnosed is either they want to reverse, they want to manage, right? Those are the two things we are offering them. And for the bundles, it's mostly for people who want to prevent, but also they want to manage and they want to reverse. So when you're already diagnosed, there is no prevention anymore, right?
No.
When you're already diagnosed. And so one of the big things that we do, guys, I need for you to understand this because it's very important when we make your prescriptions so you understand the recommendations when we're making the recommendations for you. Okay? So you know that we drive our health spectrum from vitality to what we call health, to what we call distress, and what we call disorder. This is where you get the diagnosis, when the disorder actually shows up, right? And say, for example, the conditions for diagnosing you with diabetes says that you need to be at 6.0 HbA1c. Okay, that's the marker for diabetes.
What's that third word?
That's distress. Sorry, my writing is kind of off. Can you close the door behind you and tell them to use the other door? Okay. So that's distress, disorder. So typically in our lives, that's what happens. We are moving towards disorder. So our bundles is for people who are here, who want to get back here. Our protocols are for people who are here, who want to get back here. Is that clear? This is a much more intensive protocol, and typically our recommendation would be an F1, F2, and F3, which is really the protocol for reversal. And for people who have bundles, typically it will be F1 and F2. People who are very healthy will take only the F1 bundle. So that's how we make our recommendations. If you're very healthy, all your biomarkers are green, we will give you only an F1 bundle, okay? Which is the standard bundle. Are we clear about this? I just want to make everybody clear. So when we start talking about diabetes, that you're very clear about that. So do you understand this? Victor?
Yes.
Kim, I can't remember your name. Richard, I know this is your first
I have
time.
no idea what's going on.
Okay, just enjoy, okay? Yeah, these people have been here for over a year. Yeah, they've been coming for over a year, so they know a lot about this stuff already. Elizabeth, you can wait here while you're, okay? No, she's getting ready for treatment. All right, so I wanted to give you this sense so that you're very clear. Okay, today we are talking about diabetes. So let's look at diabetes. Why are we talking about diabetes today? Potentially, diabetes is going to be the biggest chronic illness across the world in the next 20 years.
Wow.
Why? Because of three things. So let's just look at some of those symptoms, right? Look at the blue page. Look at the blue page. People are always tired. So when they have this disease, right? Because people have high blood pressure and high cholesterol. Where is high blood pressure and high cholesterol coming? It actually starts with diet and stress and toxicity. That's where it really starts. Diet, stress, and toxicity. And the reason why diet is really an important aspect of this is because most people are not eating well and are not getting the standard set of supplements that they need every day. So the cells are starved of the nutrients that are critical for cellular function. That is such a fundamental issue because our diet, our water, does not contain the minerals and everything that is required for daily optimal function. So we have cellular challenges, and that cellular challenge means that the body begins to struggle with the things that we have focused on. In American culture, eating is really associated with calories, not with nutrients. So if you hear people all about weight loss in America, it's about calories, not about nutrients. The body is not that interested in calories. You're going to see in the notes we're going to discuss today, the body is more interested in nutrients. That's what the body needs. Calorie is just for energy. And since most of us are not really using a lot of energy today, right? We're not riding a bicycle home to San Bernardino, which is what people used to do 40 years ago, right? They would ride their bicycle or they would be on a horse. And that is part of exercise, right? Or they will walk. Today, everybody's driving, right? Today, everybody's driving. And so we're not getting the kind of exercise that is required. And so what tends to happen is that, I will show you pictures of this. Glucose comes into the bloodstream from our stomach, and that glucose, for it to be absorbed into the cell, requires insulin to carry it. Richard, are you with me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, you know what insulin is, right?
I don't know exactly what it is, but I know it's associated with diabetes.
Yeah.
And they have to take insulin shots.
All right. Yeah, that is for people who have type 1 diabetes or people who have type 2 diabetes that's going out of control. All right? Yes. Very important. So why are they taking insulin? Somebody tell me. Why do people need to take insulin? Yes, but why do we need insulin?
You said that the stomach shoots the cholesterol into...
No. So, insulin is produced in the pancreas, and for the sugar to enter the cell, it needs to be carried by insulin.
So it's a conductor.
So yes, it carries the sugar into the cell. And so if there's a lot of sugar in your bloodstream, it means we have to produce a lot of insulin to carry it into the cell. Two things happen. When there is too much glucose in the cell, what happens? The cell becomes a fat cell. It has to store all that, so it converts it to fat. That's number one. Number two, we are overworking the pancreas, so the pancreas begins to die. Number three, because of the filtration, we're overworking the kidneys begin to die. Yes, Richard.
I was just thinking, a lot of places where they feed homeless people, they get so much sugar. I think that
Perhaps we're trying to kill them.
You just told me, I'm like, I'm like an
No, because Americans think that food should be carbohydrates, it's calories. No, you're right, Richard, that's true. That's how Americans think about food. They think that food should be calories. And yet, if you look at the army, when they're being deployed, they have little packets. And that packet is nutrients, is not calories. Because they need them optimal fighting force. Do you understand? So they give them enough nutrients to keep them active and alive and tough. But when they feed homeless people, because no, it's not deliberate. People are ignorant. People are ignorant. And there's one of the reasons why a lot of us eat carbohydrates. It makes us feel good. Proteins and fats don't make us feel good. Carbohydrates makes us feel good. That's why we have this obsession. And at the cellular architecture, I'm going to be talking about this. There are two ways for the cell to produce energy. It can produce energy using sugar or glucose, or it can produce energy using what? Fat. And you're going to find out that the fat process is more efficient than the sugar process. The sugar is a lazy way of producing energy, and it produces a lot of waste products. Okay, we're not talking the cellular engine. Is this making sense? So we're going down this story about diabetes. Why diabetes is a real challenging problem. Okay? Everybody here knows their HbA1c number, right?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know yours, Richard?
I don't even know what that is, sir.
Okay. So when did you last see a doctor?
I'm overdue.
Okay. How old are you, Richard, if we met?
55.
55. Okay, it's very important that you get to know what this number is. Okay? It's very important. Mine is 5.6. That's pre-diabetic. That's not a good number. That's not a good place to be. One of our patients was here yesterday. She's 50-something, and her number is 5.2. In our 50s, that's a good place to be. But she had a problem. Her glucose in her blood was very high. You understand? So as we are looking at HbA1c number, which is really an average over a 3-month period, we also do glucose measurements, and that's something, Grace, if you have availability, or Yara, can you do their glucose test and their ketone test in the class? So in your blood, glucose levels should be between 70 to 90. If it goes above 100, there's too much glucose in your blood. Okay? When it goes above 100, Dr. Yi, can you sit down? Then sit somewhere. Just trying my class. All right? So it has to be between 70 or 90. Okay? Very, very important that it's between 70 and 90. If it's below 70, you suffer from what we call hypoglycemia. Low sugar, not enough sugar.
It's not high sugar, that's low sugar.
Hypo, yeah, low. Hyper is high,
Okay.
right? That's what they'll call. But you see, God is really amazing, right? Very tight boundaries. Between 70 and 90. Lower than that, there's a problem. Higher than that, there's a problem. It's really tight. And that's a measure that they're going to check your blood now, and they're going to tell you what your sugar or glucose levels are in your blood. right? I know you're not fasting, but it's good to check often and just see where that is. Okay? It's a very, very important measure. Especially as we're growing older, I was talking about insulin carrying the glucose into the cell. If you're overworking, so if there's too much glucose all the time in your blood, then the pancreas is working all the time to produce insulin. And then we arrive at the big issue that most people have. We call it insulin resistance. You become insulin resistant. There's just too much sugar and the body cannot produce enough insulin. And that's where obesity and all of that begins. Is this making sense? We good?
I didn't know pancreas was related to the glucose levels.
Yes, because of the insulin. It's created in, the insulin is created in what they call the islets. It's like, if you look at the structure of the pancreas, that's where insulin, that's the factory for insulin. And it's a really critical, necessary, because we need that sudden burst of energy, right? The thing why the body needs two sources of energy, very, very important. Because when we need to run or fight, we need energy immediately, and that energy comes from glucose. The energy for the longer term comes from the fat. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's like your fast energy resource and your long-term energy resource, right? And it's very important that when God made that architecture, He built it so that we had both, access to both. That's why you see those very thin guys from Ethiopia, they can win marathons. You wonder, for them,
so skinny, they don't have fat, how do they make the long run? I'm trying to understand that whole
they
thing.
eat a lot of carbohydrates before the run. They're using energy immediately. All tennis players do, all boxers do the same thing. Before the fight, you have a large meal of carbohydrates. So you are getting so raw glucose.
Oh, immediate.
Yeah,
No, you talk
immediate.
about glucose, I'm talking about fat though. You said
No,
fat.
I'm saying that that's for the long term. But
Yeah,
those
for long
marathon
term.
runners, the day before, they
Yeah, you're always
eat
supposed to eat carb, like
a lot of
Yeah, a lot of
carbs. So they have the sugar ready for the immediate need. Okay? But because their muscles have been trained to use up very small amounts of energy, because the more you train, the more your body doesn't really need a lot of energy to deliver, right? The more you exercise, right? You find out that people who exercise
More often
begin to
less
eat less. You begin to eat less. You begin to eat less. When you're not exercising, you tend to eat more. It's very interesting. When you exercise, you eat less.
No, I eat more.
Because you just like to eat.
No, because I'm rewarding myself.
You're rewarding, you see?
Yes,
It's
that's-
exactly.
I'm rewarding myself.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, she's rewarding, yeah. But you're actually not hungry.
Yeah, but I'm rewarding myself.
Yeah, so that's a difference, okay? Richard, you're getting kind of lost here now.
But I get
No,
some
sir.
motivation.
Okay, so let's look at the symptoms of diabetes. So you might think, okay, I don't know my number. Always thirsty. For women, they have people, like for most of their patients who are coming in with numbness and tingling, right? Numbness and tingling. You wake up in the morning or you're in the shower, you can feel tingling, right? That's a sign of diabetes or numbness in the feet or hands. And really it has to do with microcirculation, which is something we measure here. Then you have a lot of vaginal infections. What do they call it? DTI? UTI, uterine infections. Always hungry. Frequent urination. See, I pee about 2 or 3 times a night. That's not good. Blurry vision. I used to wear glasses. You see, I don't wear them anymore. As my health improved, I didn't need glasses. Wounds that won't heal. You don't heal quickly. Always tired. Sexual problems. You have no desire or you don't want to do it. Right? So those are some of the symptoms. Richard, are you with us?
Yes, sir.
Good. All right.
Systemic weight loss.
Yes. So, no, it's on the other side. Some people gain weight and some people lose a lot of weight. They become very thin. Okay, so on the other side. So let's turn on the red sheet. So even though we call it diabetes, diabetes exists. Pay attention, guys. Diabetes is a name that they've given one of the conditions that is within a bundle of things called the metabolic syndrome. Okay? Am I using a lot of big words?
Yeah.
You don't like the word?
No.
That's what they call it, metabolic syndrome. And the metabolic syndrome is shown by a couple of these things. Because a lot of people who also, so diabetes is considered one of the sicknesses in the metabolic syndrome. So if you have diabetes, you typically have one of the signs within the metabolic syndrome. And what are those signs? Number one, you have high blood pressure. Okay? Number two, I just spoke about that. Pay attention, guys. Number two, your glucose is high, which is the high fasting glucose. So what is high fasting glucose? Richard, do you know what high fasting glucose is? It's the blood test that we take. Is somebody going to come and do their blood test?
Yes.
Where's Yara?
Yara is preparing.
Oh, she's preparing? Oh, okay. So the fasting test is you don't eat for 8 hours. You don't eat for 8 hours and we test how much glucose in your blood. So if you haven't eaten for 8 hours, the glucose in your blood must be between 70 or 90. When you eat, it's going to go high.
But not supposed to be at 100. Cannot exceed 100.
No, it can. It's okay because you just ate. But 2 hours or 3 hours after, it should come back again. Yeah, that's why we do fasting, okay? You need to understand that. So whenever they say don't eat before you go for your labs, because they're trying to check these fasting levels, okay? Because if you just eat, the number is going to be all over the place, right? Some people, it rises to like 150, 200, then it comes back again to 90. You understand? Depending on what you eat. Like if you ate McDonald's or drank a bottle of Coke. Yeah, or cake. Exactly. Number three, it has high fasting triglycerides, right? Which are the bad fats, right? Which are what? Is that the LDL and the HDL? Then there's increased abdominal obesity. You know, like me, this belly begins to pouch out, right? And then your belt begins to fall under, and then you cannot tie your shoelaces anymore. You understand? Whenever you're struggling to tie your shoelace, then you know there's a problem, right? And yes, because of that. And then pay attention, guys. So we have the LDL and the HDL. So what it's saying is that this one goes up and this one goes down. And HDL's job is actually to take this out of the bloodstream. Okay, so we need more of the HDL to carry out the LDL out of our bloodstream. Okay, it's produced as part of the overall metabolic process.
Okay, question. The HDL you mentioned, which is the
good cholesterol.
And the good fat, is that the same fat that give you energy from the long term?
Yes, because we burn fat. Yes.
That's a good fat.
Yes. That's the fat we're burning at the cellular level. Okay. How is this start today? How are you? Do you feel? You're learning? All right. Let's move to the next level. So, what we are going to talk about today is a departure of a diet that everybody is saying reverses and puts a diabetes under control, and that's the ketogenic diet. So can you pass this, Vincent? So we have a lot of notes to go through today. So bear with me. as we walk through the notes. It's an extra copy. All right, let's start. This is going to take some time. So we all know that your diet should be made up of fat. So we have two kinds of things that we have to eat, right? So we have our macronutrients, and we have our micronutrients. Kim, can you remember what micronutrients are? There are 4 of them. Vitamins, minerals, and what? Check your notes. I just want to make sure that we don't forget this stuff. Okay, vitamins, look at what they are, and then what? Minerals, and then what? Minerals. So there are 2, right?
Yeah, so why you said 4?
Well, because I want to see whether you know the right answer. I said 4, but I wrote 2. I was checking whether my people know the answer. You see, Victor, making sure you're awake. The vitamins and minerals. What's the difference between vitamins and minerals? You know, sometimes Victor thought he had retired. So let me explain to you. Minerals are
From the earth.
It's from the earth, correct?
Yeah, because you talk about chromium, that's from the
Yeah,
earth.
they're from the earth. And typically, are you okay? Oh, he didn't know it was going to hurt. You have to tell him that you're going to prick him. You can't just prick somebody.
He's a big boy.
Yeah, even though he's a big boy, you have to tell him you're going to prick him. No, it's all right, but she's supposed to tell you. You can't just prick somebody. Jara, you have to tell somebody you're going to prick them. Yeah, here it comes, okay? So he's ready so that he doesn't behave like a little boy. All right. And then where do vitamins come from? Yeah, so they come from plants mostly and animals. So they take these minerals and they create these things that we need. And then that's how we consume, right? And all of them have to be driven by the sunlight, right? It's sun that creates it. So 2 very critical things that come from our micronutrients, right? Vitamins and minerals. Are you going to forget this all? Okay, good.
No.
Yeah, so especially when you're diabetic, this is very critical that you get these nutrients. Okay? Now let's talk about macronutrients. So, Victor, which are the macronutrients? Proteins, fats, and carbohydrates. All right? And carbs is the bad boy.
Yes.
Because we all love carbs. And you know, it's almost a psychological issue. For some reason, carbs make us feel good.
Comfort.
Do you understand? Every culture suffers from the same issue. Carbs make us feel good.
Yes.
And so, even as I grew older, I started wondering, why do I like carbs when it is not that valuable?
It tastes good.
Well, but fat tastes good too, and protein tastes good
But
too.
that's a different, no, doesn't taste good when it comes to that.
Is it a craving?
Yeah, it becomes a craving. It's an addiction almost. We love carbohydrates as human beings. For some of us, genetically, we love it. How was his numbers? Do you want to share it? Oh, 106 for glucose?
Did you eat?
Did you eat
No,
this?
ma'am.
You didn't eat this
No,
morning? And what was did you do the ketone also? All right, okay, that's fine. You see, your glucose levels are high.
That's high.
Do you take medication? Are you diabetic?
No, sir. You know what I did have? I had what's called muscle milk.
I don't know what
it comes from
That's
CVS.
protein.
I took 2 of them.
What made less sugar over there?
Vitamins and minerals.
Sugar.
there might be some sugar in it.
I'm pretty sure there was sugar in it because it was banana one and the other was
No,
chocolate.
you should be buying stuff only from me.
There's a lot of sugar right there too.
Only from me. Anything else is bullshit.
Okay, I don't know.
I know, that's why you're here, my friend. You came, and so that's the important thing, right? Okay, let's go back to our notes, right? So they're going to tell you about diets and all of that, and it's all bullshit, most of it. Okay, let's turn to the second page. So when you eat a lot of carbohydrates, so we're on the high carbohydrate intake, its impact, right? There's a higher risk for type 2 diabetes when you eat carbohydrates. The metabolic syndrome increases, and also it increases the risk of gastric cancer in male and Asian groups. Right?
Which page are we on? High or the low?
Yeah, just the second page.
The low?
Yeah, no, the second page. That page with the picture. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, there are no page numbers. Next time I'll make sure there are page numbers. And then our sedentary lifestyle, which is what I was talking about, right? Richard, you know what a sedentary lifestyle is?
No, sir.
It's a lifestyle where you're always sitting in the car driving and you don't exercise. So that sedentary lifestyle plus a high carbohydrate intake is associated with low-grade chronic inflammation and increased cardiovascular disease risk in postmenopausal women. Okay, that's why we are on top of you on this stuff. Right? So, that's the glycemic dysregulation, the sugar that causes stress. Next page. The benefits of a low carbohydrate intake on human health, right? It helps. So we're going to talk about the ketogenic diet, great improvements in glycemic control. What's glycemic control? So, yes, of sugar, yes, glucose levels. Very important you know these words. Glycemic control, okay? I know when you go to your doctors, they use this word and people just blank out. That's why I want to make sure that you really understand this. No, you don't need to test anybody else. Yeah, that's fine. I think they are fine. Yeah, just only for Richard.
This is scary stuff here. You say, what symptoms do you have? I said, well, I got that one.
Oh, do you want the test?
Yeah, he won the test.
Oh, okay, do the. Sorry, sorry, Victor.
Okay, how many checkpoints?
Because I know I thought your glucose is kind of under control. Okay, let's test. Yeah, and then also.
A lot of those symptoms except for vagina dryness.
You see, Richard, this class gets too exciting sometimes. Okay, so while you're doing that, let's go ahead. So, and then there's more frequent medication reduction and elimination. So what they're saying is that if you get on a ketogenic diet, which we're going to discuss, you're going to have to you give up most of your medication because your body comes back into homeostasis. That's what we're talking when we talk about reversal, right? So let's go ahead. We go to the next page. They said even, look at the last line. In preclinical study, a low carbohydrate diet slowed cancer development and progression. That's why this ketogenic diet is very important. That's why you must say goodbye to carbohydrates. You have no choice but to say goodbye to carbohydrates. No more sugar, Richard. No more sugar. All right, let's look at this page. That's the page on ketone bodies. All right. So ketone bodies and how are they produced? So ketones are the bodies that come out of ketogenic diets, right? We're going to talk about it. I know it comes from fatty acids. You see that diagram there? Fatty acids, right, come from the fat foods that you eat. Let's go to the next page and let's talk about ketosis, right? When ketones bodies accumulate in the bloodstream, they cause a metabolic state called ketosis. When sugar accumulates in the bloodstream, they cause a state called what?
Ketosis.
No, that's for fats.
What was your question?
Glucose.
What was your
When there's high glucose in the bloodstream, what does it cause?
There's high glucose in the bloodstream.
We said it earlier. When there's high glucose in the bloodstream, what is it? We called it glycemic. Hyperglycemic. When there's high fat in the bloodstream, we call it ketosis. I want you to know the difference. Okay?
So a lot of sugar is hyperglycemic, a lot of fat is
Ketosis. Ketosis is good.
in the bloodstream.
Yes, because it actually is a much better way for you to manage long-term energy. So that's what we're going to be talking a lot about today. Ketosis is good for you, okay?
Fat in the blood is good.
Yes, it is good.
Sugar in the blood is bad.
Very bad.
Wait, but that's include fat and fat.
Oh, well, don't worry about that fat. Yeah, we'll get to that. Yes. Let's just talk about fat. Then we'll talk about which fat. Okay, so what is a ketogenic diet? You can see it there. So also they are very clear about the kind of carbohydrate and the kind of protein and the kind of fat, right? So even people who have epilepsy, this diet is shown to be very good for them. And Dr. Yi here is licensed for Alzheimer's, and the ketogenic diet is the recommended diet for people who have Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and dementia and autism, all these chronic illnesses. Ketogenic diet is what is recommended, and that's actually the diet that I am actually moving towards slowly. Cutting down carbohydrate, rice, noodle. I don't eat bread anymore, no more pasta. Yeah, perhaps once in a while, but these are things I used to eat regularly. Just cutting them, dropping them away, because they're really bad. So it's better for you to go and eat the barbecue meat, the fish, the barbecue pork. Bacon is good. You know, it is good. Yes, bacon is good for you. Don't believe people who tell you that it is not. Bacon is good for you.
Portion.
Yeah, don't eat 100 strips.
Portion.
Yeah. Okay.
No, Mr. Jones.
What?
No bacon for me.
Oh, you're Muslim?
No bacon for me, sir.
Oh, all right. Okay. So they say in addition as an energy molecule, it goes to talk about cell signaler, epigenetic mechanisms. I've talked about epigenetic mechanisms before. Can anybody remember what that is? There's a lot of technical terms here. We're going to pass that page because Sol is not happy with that page. So turn to the next page. This page. Okay. So that's what I was discussing before. Everybody get there quick. On this page, what fuel tank? Yeah. So I said there were two kinds of tank, right, in the body. Right? It's like a hybrid tank. We have a glycogen tank, which is the sugar tank, and we have a fat tank. So limited energy is stored as glycogen in the liver and in the muscle, right? And that's why we don't want to store too much fat, in the liver. We call it non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, because when you have this high sugar in the bloodstream, some of it is stored in the liver because you don't need it, except you're going to fight a heavyweight fight the next day. Then you're going to use all of it, then the body doesn't have to store it. Do you see that? That's the only time you eat a lot of carbohydrates, because you're going to run a marathon or you're going to go into a big fight or a 5-hour tennis match. But if you're eating a lot of carbohydrates and you're not doing that, then it's going to store it in the liver.
So if you exercise, then you can eat carbs.
Well, no, but you get to a certain age where your body is not that efficient anymore. You don't run marathons.
But if I run,
Yeah, if you run people who run 23 miles every day, which is the amount of miles you should run.
If I run 5 miles a day, I'm going to do 20 miles.
Yeah, but the point is that you also, as you're aging, your body, you're just looking for every excuse to eat carbohydrates. No, you're already your HbA1c is at 5.6. You cannot. If you brought it down to 5.2, we could say yes. When you get there, okay, and you're not there yet. So I know you want to take another bite. It's okay. We forgive you. So look at that tank. Fat deposits provide large energy sources. And so animals that go into hibernation, you know what hibernation is? So they sleep throughout the winter. So they store a lot of fat. And that's when they use up the fat. So by the time
fat all the times anyway, it doesn't matter what it was.
no, and when the winter is over, when you look at the bear,
The bear's fat all the time.
the bear has lost a lot of fat during winter, right? How many bears have you actually looked at?
I haven't seen a skinny bear yet. I can tell you that much. I'm sorry.
Perhaps you only see bears that have eaten well. All right.
There's no skinny bear.
So high carbohydrate diets can reduce the metabolic flexibility needed to utilize fat deposits during glycogen depletion. This is a very important point. So if you have too much sugar in your body, then the fat accumulates and it's not being used as the reserve place. So when there's glycogen depletion, the mitochondria, which is our energy source, turns to fat. And it's a much cleaner energy source. It's like hybrid cars. It's a cleaner energy source. It doesn't produce a lot of waste. So keto adaptation promotes access to fat deposits and so that's what happens when you switch to a ketogenic diet. You start training your body to use fat as the energy source. Do you understand? It's a very important switch that happens. So
the cravings could disappear.
yes, they do disappear. So let's establish this point because a lot of people don't get it. Yeah, Kim is shaking her head. She thinks forever her cravings are going to be there. All right, let's think about these two energy sources, two fuel tanks. That's your fat tank and that is your glucose tank. You always want this tank to be here. No, 1/4, yeah, 1/4. Yes. And then you want this tank to be here. Because so that you want this tank to run out, and so this becomes the source. And that's a much optimal way for the body to perform. And over time, it then changes the way the body actually
That's a good analogy. Thank you.
Do you get that?
Yeah.
So it's almost a hybrid engine. You want to keep low and high, right? Because don't forget your sugar level has to be between 70 to 90. If you notice, I didn't say zero sugar, zero carbohydrate. You need to eat some carbohydrate, right? You need to eat some carbohydrate, okay? All right? Do we understand this? This is a very, very important point that you need to know as the source of energy, okay?
Okay.
Yeah.
How about the sugar that you get from oats?
So if you look at that menu that I did on that page before, you see that there. So hold on. Your question is coming because I'm going to give you a ketogenic program guide.
Okay.
And you're going to see all the fruits that you can eat. Okay? Because you were beginning to think that I was going to kill you, right? So look at this keto adaptation. Richard, are you with us?
Yes, sir.
All right. I want you to look at that diagram. It's a very interesting diagram. So keto adaptation. Look at me. Keto adaptation means that you want your body to get adapted to a low sugar tank and a high fat tank. That's what keto adaptation means. Currently, Your tank is high sugar, high fat.
Half and half.
Right? So we want this to come really low. And you know, and one of the reasons why people have fatigue, because of that. High sugar causes a lot of underlying stress. We spoke about the glycemic dysregulation as one of the stress factors, right? So let's look at it. So a ketogenic diet, which is low carb, high fat, adequate protein. Why do we need the protein?
Listen.
Thank you. Right? We need protein because it is the building blocks for the cellular architecture. You understand? Fat is only needed for really the brain. That's where the brain is used for building blocks. But the rest of the body needs protein for rebuilding and replacement.
You know, I've been drinking replacements, and when I started doing maybe
Can you give me some water?
an egg, a little bit of food with the meal replacements, and I would go to the gym. My workouts are a lot better
Yes.
than if I just do the meal replacements or just meal.
Correct.
Combine them together.
Okay. So you're putting what in there? Egg? A raw egg or what?
No, I'm eating an egg.
Oh,
Maybe an egg and bread.
oh really? Before you go for the workout?
And then I have my drink
Yeah.
before I start my workout.
Okay, that's good.
And the energy level is
It stays the same.
maintaining
Yes.
better.
Yeah, and also it's because you're actually in that keto adaptation.
That protein.
Yeah, and that's why if you look at the top runners, they've trained and their body has built very optimally. They don't go through, people who run, have not run a marathon. They say there's a crazy area around mile 17 to mile 21 when the body really just goes crazy. That's when most people quit. And that's when the body is completely switching from that into a fat engine. And it takes the body some time for that adaptation. And once it's running on fat, you don't get tired. That's how efficient that body engine is. You can just keep running forever. That's the way the body was designed.
You also have to train.
Yeah, you have to train. That's what we are calling the keto adaptation, where you can, in running, you notice when your body stops using glucose and starts using fat. And you can sense it in the way some people go dizzy because the body is like gasping, right? Oh, there's no more sugar. Where is sugar? Okay, there's another energy resource, right? So it's like gasping and then it starts tapping from the fat.
Change gear.
Yes,
No,
exactly.
Because typically when you run, if you can go through the first 2 miles, that's when your body is, and after the 2 miles, then your body switch that tank. and
Correct.
start working,
Yes.
When I do the
Yes,
that way.
exactly. Thank you. And then, so when you get on a keto, it reduces circulating glucose and insulin due to reduced dietary carbohydrates. So when there's less sugar in the blood, then the pancreas doesn't have to work so hard anymore. It's just providing the basic level of insulin. So you see a lot of people who have diabetes, they take insulin injection, then they eat carbohydrates. Big mistake. And their doctors don't tell them. If you're taking insulin injection, you should not be eating carbohydrates.
You overdose yourself.
Yeah, well, you're not overdosing. Yeah, you're just getting worse. Over time, you're getting worse.
Body's adapting.
Yes, you're getting worse because you're going to need more and more insulin to cope with the more and more carbohydrate you're eating.
Oh, got it.
You see that? But if you are taking insulin and you reduce your carbohydrate load to a ketogenic level, soon you don't need insulin anymore because the body will just readapt itself to those low levels of insulin requirement. Are you getting this? This is a very, very important issue about, so ketogenic diet is not a fad. It's not like one of those other diets that people talk about. It's a real medical intervention for really changing the architecture of your life, right? And for increasing the length of your life.
I guess because people use the word diet after ketogenic, and that's why that the perception Because because the ketogenic is the type of food that you eat that changing your body, not like the Weight Watcher diet or the.
Yes, those other things.
Different.
Yes. All right.
Excuse me, but it just question. Does this acclimation you're going through continue till you die?
Yes.
So you have to supplement.
Because the body was designed like a hybrid engine. So it's not like at some point the glucose engine is going to switch off.
So we have the ability to manifest our health and destiny.
Yes. And, some days, like we recommend, we do a 5 times 2. We have a 5 days on keto and a 2 days off. 5 days, because a ketogenic diet can really become very boring. And we don't want you to be too bored about it. So some people do 4-3, some people do 6-1, some people do 5-2. Right? But the benefits are very good. But if you have cancer or you have Alzheimer's, we recommend a 7-0.
I have a hard time right now because
Hard time for what?
Halloween is coming and candy is one of my favorite. And I know
No, that's an addiction.
okay.
Yeah. You think candy is not my favorite too?
I don't like candy.
No, most people like candy. It's sweet, it's sugar. You like sugar. Don't say you don't like candy.
Not candy. You like candy? I said I don't like candy.
He likes all of it.
Okay.
So, and Victor,
Halloween is candy.
you're reinforcing a weakness that you have.
I'm trying to understand it.
No, there's no understanding about it. It's a choice.
Okay.
It's like you choose to do this or not do this. That's it.
It's a tough choice.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, do you understand?
Yeah.
So it's like bread. I love French bread.
See?
Well, I know.
See?
But you see, but I give it up.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just like, okay, I'm not eating it. Once in a while it's okay, but
Yeah.
once in a while it's okay. So it's not like forever. So the season is coming. You could say, I'll have just 1 candy a day during that season. Not 10. Because that's gorging.
Yeah, well, I stay away from just that one.
Why? Because once you go 1, you go 10.
Yeah.
Then good.
Yeah.
And don't feel like you're suffering. Yes, because when Kim doesn't have her sweet, she feels like she's suffering.
I'm suffering. I just don't feel like it. I'm suffering.
I guess
Can't. It's in here. No, it's not in my head. I love sweets.
yeah.
Just like you like candy, I love pastry. Yeah, I love pastry. So, but I do have.
Which one do you love, Richard? Richard, are you good for drinks and everything?
Just like he said, 5 days a week I don't eat, and then on the weekend I do.
I think you have to reinforce the value of not having the candy and implement that in your mind.
Yeah, for me, it's an active choice of transformation.
Yeah, you just.
So every day, it's like when I stopped smoking, I took 1 day and I stopped. And for like months afterwards, I'll look at the cigarette or smell it and think about it. But I decided that because my friend had a stroke, I didn't want to take the risk of having a stroke. And so I stopped. And it's been what now? 2.5 years.
It's a choice.
I just stopped.
It's a
Cold.
reality brought me to that choice.
Yeah, but you have to have a valid reason for why you make this transformative choice. And I'm glad I stopped smoking. I hated the fact that I smoked. I liked it, but I hated the fact that I smoked. And I stopped. I don't insist for other people to, because if you like it and you keep it very low. Because my father smoked tobacco, raw tobacco, on the farm and died at 102. But that was not cigarettes, that was raw tobacco, wrapped tobacco. Right? Which is really bad, because what is really bad with the cigarettes is the manufactured things that are put in the cigarette, not the tobacco itself. Right? So you need to go research that. A lot of people smoke tobacco and they're fine. Hi, William. Come join us. William, you're running late. Can you collect a William's late fee?
I'm gonna go broke.
All right, so let's look at this page. This page, the next page.
Remember the next one.
Yeah. So it says that the link between high carbohydrate intake and the onset of obesity, right? So when you take high carbohydrates, Richard, this is very important picture, right? When you eat McDonald's or Dolphins, or sorry, what do they call those things? Muffins. Yeah, the McMuffins.
Yes.
I eat fries.
Yes.
Like once every 2 weeks.
I love
Right? So look at what it does. Shoots up your glucose levels and shoots up your insulin level. Okay, I'm going to ask a question now. So, why is your insulin level going up when your glucose level goes up?
Because it's trying to catch up.
Yeah, because the insulin carries the glucose. So once there's high glucose level, the pancreas has to produce more insulin to carry the glucose into the bloodstream, into the cells. Do you see that?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And so what happens, lipogenesis, the fat cells grow fatter. See that? And there's fat accumulation. Because we all have fat cells. It's just that they're not fat. We all have fat cells. So what happens is that these fat cells grow fatter because, we're getting more fat that we need to store. The body says, we got fat coming in.
Make room.
Make room. So the fat cells are like, right? Growing fatter and fatter until soon you cannot see your legs. You see some people like that, right? In the black community. They're so big that they can't even get up, right? And then you get on the machine, you know, like me, I think about a couple of months ago I was weighing like 230. I'm now at 218. I'm trying to get to 220, but I mean 200. It's tough. It's tough, right? And now I'm eating just twice a day, but it's still tough. But it's because of the rice. Huh?
I broke 210.
Oh, are you 210? Wow, good work, man, good work. It's tough, huh?
20 pounds to go.
Exactly. I have that. Yeah, I have about. I'm trying to get to 200 or 190, if possible.
Me too.
Yeah. Okay. Great. So they say ketogenic diets are used for weight management. I'm not going to go through the details there, but you're going to take those notes. Let's go to the next page. Also, ketogenic diets will change your appetite. We spoke about that. So this is all the research to support that, right? It will change your appetite. Individuals following ketogenic diets were significantly less hungry and had reduced desire to eat when compared to baseline values. Furthermore, there was no significant increase in hunger following ketogenic diets. Do you see that?
Because it's not, because the ketogenic doesn't tell you have to eat less, you have to eat the right amount of, the right type of food.
No. Okay, that's one. But there's something else going on. When the body is hungry, what is the body hungry for?
Nutrient.
Not calories.
Yes.
Good answer.
Yeah, and I've been following your what you told me when you wake up. Because sometimes I'm hungry. I drink water.
Drink water.
And you're fine.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Because once you train your body not to eat that early in the morning, you'll be okay. Because,
Yeah.
not everyone eats
For
that
example,
early.
I haven't eaten
Yeah, I don't eat that
this
early.
morning.
I haven't either.
Yeah, it's a good thing because intermittent fasting is very good for the body. Except like when you take your supplements.
Yeah, then I got nauseated.
Yes, because if I take my supplements, I really need to eat when I take it.
Yeah.
Yeah. But if you're going to break your fast around 11 or 10 or 11, you could wait until 10 or 11 to take your supplements.
Yeah, I should do that next time.
Yes, and then
That's
just
good.
take it with,
I
yeah,
can take
you need to take it with food. Okay? All right? So the effectiveness of ketogenic diet to combat the adverse metabolic pathologies of obesity, right? We don't want to talk about that because, so are we, Richard, we're going to do your body composition afterwards so that we can look at your body fat percentage your BMI, you begin to get a sense of those numbers, okay? So Richard, when you come to our training session here, our workshops, we don't want you to tell us about what your doctor said. Everybody in our class needs to be educated about their health. So these are very important numbers that you need to start knowing, because your doctor is not in charge of when you're going to die. You are in charge of that. So we want to make sure that you know the numbers. Right, William? Once you know the numbers, then you can determine when you want to die. Isn't it? If you want to die like James Dean and have a good-looking corpse, then you can go eating your carbohydrates and everything and then go kill yourself.
My grandpa died at 102.
Oh, really?
He was born. I think I'm going to be like that.
If you do something about it. He lived in a different time.
He did. He was born in 1898.
And where did he live?
Whittier.
Okay, but he lived a different kind of life, right? He didn't eat a lot of fast food and all of that. No, I was thinking that perhaps we're having some music. Yeah. Okay. All right. So let's go to this page. Weight loss. Ketogenic diets regulate obesity and its associated pathologies. Look at weight loss. Reduction in appetite and hunger. Reduction in lipogenesis. What was lipogenesis, Victor? Huh?
Accumulation of fat.
Yes, well, the increasing in size of the fat cells, because we already have the fat cells we're going to die with, right? Fat cells are like eggs, female eggs, right? Everybody's born with the fat cells you're going to have. It's not like we create new fat cells. They just get fatter. Is that making sense? So we all have the same fat cells. They just grow fatter. That's what happens. That's why we grow fat. Okay? So there's a reduction in lipogenesis. It means that the fat in those fat cells goes down, goes into the engine. Yes.
The food that you eat makes the fat. Whatever you eat makes the fat.
Correct.
Okay, so if you're eating good food, that means your fat is better.
Yes, it's good fat. Yes, it's good fat. And then the amount is being stored and being used as required. The body has a way to regulate all of that if you're eating the right fats. So that we're going to talk about that when we get to the guide. It's not like you eat any fat. You have to eat the right fats.
But that's considered the HDL.
Yeah, the HDL, yes. Yeah, the good fat. So we're going to talk about that, because they have short chain fatty acids and long chain fatty acids, triglycerides and all of that, different kinds of fats. Okay, does that make sense? I didn't say just go start eating any fat now. All right? Because Richard was beginning to think, wow, we're going to just splurge on some bacon and I know. Okay, look at increased so there's increased thermic effects of protein. You know, like Dr. Yi has noticed, as she changed her diet, her body starts getting warmer. She's not cold anymore. Right? That's what they mean by the thermic effect of proteins. When you eat proteins, your body actually begins to have a higher temperature level. So you don't get cold like most women do all the time. Diabetes, there's a reduction in HbA1c, I just said that, blood glucose and insulin levels. And then there's a reversal of hepatic insulin resistance, right? Big problem. Then look at the cardiovascular risk parameters, especially for menopausal women. This is the most important issue. There's a reduction of endogenous cholesterol synthesis, right, Kim? Reduction of blood cholesterol and triglycerides, increased LDL particle size, and reduction of blood insulin levels. See, all these good benefits just by changing diet. Okay, I can go on and on keto. Are you guys tired of keto?
Yes.
All right, you have the notes.
Yes.
You can work on the notes. If not, I will. It talks about the human brain, cognitive decline. You should read it. Very, very important stuff, okay? For brain function. All right? Very, very important stuff there. Because all of us And some of you specifically have, pay attention to me, some of you have significant risk for Alzheimer's. Ketogenic diet is a way of preventing Alzheimer's.
How do you know you can have Alzheimer's?
We have the gene, the APOE gene.
You have to do the test.
Yes, so you have a higher risk. But for collectively all of us, it's not just having the higher risk, we are all at risk for Alzheimer's. And so on a ketogenic diet actually prevents all the issues that may come around that. Okay? So now let's walk through our ketogenic program guide. So this is like a food and meal guide, okay? And I thought that it's important that all our patients have it so that you can actually start. You don't ask the question, what do I eat? Okay? So, and this is from one of our vendors, partners, Metagenics. So it's a very good guide. And also, I have a lot of their products here today. This is the powder. I use this one when I play tennis. When you exercise, you can force your body to go into ketosis. Let me check now. Who knows what that is? Anybody who knows the answer to that gets a prize.
Mostly Williams milk.
Isn't that where you shift from the sugar to the fat?
Wow, you see that? That is it, my friend. Richard, good.
You got a prize.
Yeah, you get a prize, and Dr. E is going to decide what that prize is. You know that, so you can force your body to change tank. That's what we call forced ketosis. So when you're exercising, if you put that in your drink, it forces your body to change tank. It forces your body into ketosis. What happens when your body goes into ketosis?
You're more efficient.
You use more fat. You burn fat. And so the fat cells grow smaller. It's not that you lose fat. The fat cells grow smaller.
And I believe you say you have longer endurance.
Exactly. So if, like I used to be a boxer, it means I can go the full 12 rounds. And most boxers in the 6th, 7th round are beginning to have wobbly legs. That's when you begin to deliver the uppercuts, push them to the ropes, and by the 11th round, it's a knockout, right? As they're staggering around, you go for the finish, right? And so sometimes it's diet. It's not that the boxer is not a good boxer, it's diet. Because now they have endurance and stamina for the long game. See the point? Or they knock you and you stand up because you have stamina and endurance. Okay, let's look at our program guide. So you see all the foods that are there that you can eat. Why do you think we have berries here all the time and strawberries? Because we know it's good for you. Yes. All right. So page 1, what is a ketogenic diet? Look at all the benefits there. Page 2, what are the benefits? Let's just talk about those benefits on page 2. Mental focus. You know, most of my staff have what? Brain fog.
I don't want to repeat what he said.
Most of my staff have brain fog. William, do you know what brain fog is?
Experience it a lot.
I give them instructions and they cannot remember. Right? They can't even remember their own names. So, what is your name? That's an example of brain fog. So,
She's quick.
I know, right? She's quick. Then blood sugar management, right? Then weight loss, increased energy. You know, most people in their 40s, 50s start complaining about energy, right? And the spike, you know, like when they have lunch, they go through that week period. And so when you go on a 2-meal-a-day plan, where you break around 11 or 10, and you eat around 5 or 6, there are no spikes. You actually eliminate the spikes.
What happens when you only do 1 meal a day?
that's fine, but you have to be careful if you eat 1 meal a day when you eat that meal. I don't think that, except you're taking all your nutrients from supplements, you can eat 1 meal a day. It's fine, but there's no spike. I mean, 1 meal a day is actually nutritionally very good.
I do a big lunch.
Okay, then that's fine.
No, I do a big lunch.
No carbohydrate, right?
Yes, I didn't do it. I don't do breakfast.
So the minute you said a big lunch, Victor was like, I like that. How big is big?
No, it's how long do you eat?
Yeah.
1 hour?
Yeah, for 2 hours. She has a luxury, lazy, big lunch.
I have a big lunch. I eat a big lunch.
Yes.
Crab legs, oysters.
All right. Then weight loss, then there's increased energy, and then there's cardiovascular and metabolic health, right? So it goes on the page to begin to give you the foods to enjoy and the choices, right? So it gives you the C is carbohydrate, P is protein, F is fat, and O is order. I don't know what they mean by O.
Wait.
Oh,
C is carbohydrate?
yes.
Bean sprout? Bitter melon is carbohydrate?
Yeah, they're all carbohydrate because they're plants, and so you have to eat them, but these are the recommended ones. And they are low in carbohydrate, yes.
They have, but no.
They're low glycemic foods. Oh, you didn't know that? So what did you think vegetables were?
Just vegetable. Carbohydrate I associate with like rice, pasta.
Yeah,
bread,
all plants are carbohydrates. All plants, except seeds. Seeds have mostly protein and fats. Yeah, but all plants are carbohydrates, but they are low glycemic. They don't because things like rice, like plantains, have high
Sugar.
glycemic.
Yeah, the sugar.
Most of the plants, like the ones listed here, are low glycemic.
It's green.
So you see, so remember, this is very important, guys. The sugar level has to be between 70 and 90. So you must have some carbohydrates, right? And that's where the plants. So is this making sense? Right? So one of the foods that I like that is not listed, I'm not allowed to take because of the inflammation, is peanut and sweet corn.
Corn has a lot of sugar.
Yeah, it's not good for you.
So you can't.
It's also inflammatory. The two of them, peanut and corn. Once in a while.
Peanut is food for the brain.
No, it's not. You should be doing the other ones. We're going to talk about it, okay? So like okra,
Okay, so that's very good.
even though they say tomatoes here, tomatoes also, you know, they are what they call the dark shade plants. Okay, with some other class we'll talk about dark shade plants. So look at the proteins. So I love cheese. Cheese is very good for you. And bacon, you can have it, Richard, 2 slices. And egg, you know, as soon as you get egg, just take some 4 strips of bacon. Okay? And then let us look at the oils. Very, very important. Now we're coming to the fats, guys. Very important. For example, I use avocado oil and coconut oil.
How about grapeseed oil?
No, not good. It's not recommended.
It's in here though, 1 teaspoon of the grapeseed oil.
Oh, is it? Oh, I apologize. Oh, okay, sorry. I didn't know grapeseed oil was allowed. And then we just bought this butter, the organic butter. It's very good.
So what they
So even when you're, yeah, go ahead.
no, what is it? When you call it organic butter, they get it from the organic cow or what? They know the cow.
That's real butter. You can smell it. It's real butter. Yes, it's very good for you. Okay. And then mayonnaise, but unsweetened. I like mayonnaise. It's unsweetened, right? The coconut oil is, you can use it the hot. The virgin olive, you can use it only cold. So you cannot fry with olive oil because it breaks down the oil. So you use olive oil only for cold foods. The coconut oil